Okay, so I'm gonna start with talking about the supplies today. So we have our pencils, and right now I have an H pencil. Let me see if I can zoom in. I have an H pencil and I have a 3B pencil. The reason that the tip is so long is because it gives us an easier range of motion. So in theory, we don't want our lines to be like jagged. We want it more fluid and long and linear. So even if you take a scrap of paper before we start and you do some long linear lines just to kind of practice moving the pencil, because when you have these type of jaggedy, lines, you're nervous with everything you're making. It just looks, how do I say it? Bad. I don't know. It just doesn't look great. So that's our pencils. I also have a mechanical pencil. This is a fancier one, but anyone will work. I don't even know if I'm going to be using it. I just have it next to me just in case. A blending stump. Also don't know if I'm going to be using it. Just like to have it near me. This one, I just want to point out that when we do a blending stump, you also want to be drawing with it like any pencil. But this isn't necessary. This is just, a tool to have. Then with erasers, I have 3 erasers. 3 technically these are. So I have your gummy eraser, which I'm sure everyone has heard of, your standard eraser. And then these guys are not necessary, but if you have them, they're great. So sometimes I like to draw and clean up lines with these guys because they're so thin that they give you nice shapes. So if you have them, great. If you don't worry about it. And then for the paper that we're using today, I just honestly have printer paper. I'm sure everyone has printer paper in their house that they can grab. If you want something nicer, you can obviously use that. And then I also have like a scrap paper just on the side. Sometimes I'll test a technique on it, or I don't know. Just, it's good to have a scrap paper. And also sometimes when you're working and there's a lot of graphite, it'll start to get on your hands. So you want, honestly, a clean paper to like kind of brace on so you're not smudging your drawing around. So it's good to have a scrap piece of paper. One more thing, our reference. I'm going to put the reference on the screen that I took a photo of at the Bronx Zoo. And I have it in Procreate right now because I'm going to actually export the video so that you guys can follow along the marks that I visually make. It'll be easier for you guys to comprehend, but you can print this or you can have it on your phone, whatever image you want. And this technique is applicable to any drawing, so not just the bear that we're doing today. All right, let's get started. So first what we want to do is, I made the reference image into a square because I figured it'd be a little bit easier if you're a beginner. So we're going to mark a square on our page. You can obviously use a ruler for this part, but I'm just going to freehand it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want like a square shape to match the reference. That's roughly good for me, it's a square. So from here, we're going to measure the center points of our square. And I'm also going to divide our image with drawing guide. I'm going to put a screenshot on the screen because I don't know if in Procreate when I like export the video, it'll show it. We're going to do the center point lines, and we're going to measure with the butt of our pencil. So you see that's a little off for me. Move it over like here. Measure again with the butt of the pencil. You always want to measure with the butt side of the pencil. The reason being is that the tip is always changing size as we're drawing with it. The graphite wears down. So you just always want to be measuring with the end of the pencil. So here's our vertical line, and then again we wanted to here a horizontal. And something that I also just want to mention really quick is that whenever you're working with a reference, you want the reference to be at the same angle, whether it's printed, digital, whatever it is, at the same angle as you're holding your paper, because if you don't, the perspective tends to get warped when you're drawing it. It just, your eye kind of deceives you. So you just want to make sure that it's level with wherever you're drawing. It'll make things easier for you in the long run. Okay, so now that we have our square and our guidelines, I just want to mention, you want to be light-handed with this, because if you make your lines too dark, they're going to be harder to erase later on. And if you did make them too dark already by accident, that's okay. You can always lighten things up with a gummy eraser by just tapping it, and it'll take away some of that pigment. All right, so let's begin. I'm going to mark on my iPad as we move along, because I want you guys to visually see what I'm seeing. And while when I work from reference, I don't mark this physically on my reference. You can if it'll help you along, but you should get comfortable with seeing these type of shapes with your eyes. And again, this method will work with tradition, not traditional. This method will work when you're drawing from life or from a reference. Obviously today we're drawing from a reference, but essentially what we're doing is we're finding guiding lines when things are just floating in the air so that we can structure things. So we're going to put the points down that I'm deeming important. So we have this point here, this point here. We have actually his nose sticks out a little farther, his head and his neck, right? So all these I'm deeming as important points, and those points we're going to kind of work from in our image. And how do we get those points when we have nothing down? We can either measure the negative space of your pencil, you take it to your reference, and then you again measure it here, or you can eyeball it. As you get comfortable with drawing, you're going to be able to eyeball it and be accurate eyeballing it. But as a beginner, and even when you're let's say a master artist, it's always good to check your guides, and it's always good to check and remeasure, because you never know, your eyes are always trying to play tricks on you. So here I marked the bottom of the page for myself, and this is in a little, this guy's like this guy's like this, and this guy is like this. And then from here, what I'm doing, so you're going to mark this line right all the way up here, and honestly you can just curve it. We'll add the ear in later. Here, 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 and here. Why am I doing this? I'm marking the outwardmost points that I see so that I'm able to reference them later on in my drawing. So here we have his body's kind of like this, right? Like this, like this, like this, like something like this. This is our shape. Actually, here's a little off. And actually, when there's a bend here, I'm gonna just, right here, there's a bend. You can measure it from this point, actually, to give yourself a more accurate. So from here, if you bring it down, it's gonna be here, so you know that your diagonal's here somewhere, like this. And the same from here, it's almost at the bottom, it's like here, but it doesn't exceed this point, right? And then you bring it in. Here, it's a little bit inner from this point down like this, and then here it's like here and like that. So for me, I'm quite happy with these lines. Again, this doesn't look like a bear, nothing even close to a bear, right? And I'll show you on Procreate also what it looks like. So this does not look like a bear by any means, but this gives us our guides so that we're able to see where to go from here. From here, I'm going to put in the ear, right? So where is the ear going? The ear does not exceed farther than this point. right here. So I know it cannot go past this. And actually, so like here. So moving on, you're gonna add the ear. We might change it later, it might get smaller, might, you know, but right now that's just kind of our ear placement. Like that's more. Okay. And I'm lightening my lines a little. Okay. So from here, I'm going to take off these points because we've already marked them. We don't need them anymore. And from here, we're going to pencil in the outside shape. To me, like, I just want to mark this for myself because I understand that this is kind of his neck going into his torso, right? And here it's okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of outlining his mane, and I'm also getting in that snout. And I'm also refining anything that I feel needs to be refined for me to understand the form better. So this might look a little different for you, but for myself, this is kind of where I'm beginning. Just so you guys understand what I'm doing on the page. And I'm just refining any of the lines that seem wobbly. So I'm using this eraser. You can use just a regular eraser or whatever you feel more comfortable with. These I just really love because I feel like you're drawing with them and it cleans up your lines and it gets you these nice shapes, you know, and without like honestly adding too much, without adding more pencil strokes, which, you know, I'm literally drawing with this and it's great for fur also. So all right, anyway, so we have here he has like some muscle here. This goes in here. So the way we also, just if you're a super new beginner, the way we accentuate form is we go, when we're drawing, we move our pencil in the direction of the shape we want to showcase. So that's kind of what I'm doing here at the bottom. So I'm going to fill in his eye, and again, I'm going to use our measuring techniques that we kind of discussed earlier. So I'm just going to kind of mark it there for myself. What I'm doing here is I'm darkening the points that are going to add to the form of there. So just whatever value shape I see. Not value shapes, whatever value shapes I see, excuse me. As I'm moving through the drawing, I'm constantly looking for shapes. Now here's a little bit of like the messy part where we just kind of have to keep going and not pay too much attention and not get discouraged. And the reason I'm shading like this is it gives you a smoother shading than like this. So it just gives me more control. this point, I'm darkening the darkest darks. Not like fully to like a black color, but I'm just doing them a little more to accentuate for myself where those dark points are. And actually, at this point, I'm gonna take away from myself the guiding lines because they're actually distracting me instead of aiding me right now. And I'm gonna lighten him up a little bit. I know that's kind of seems counterproductive, but for me, it actually it helps me visualize the shapes easier. Because sometimes I over darken certain areas that actually don't need to be as dark as they are, and it helps kind of bring everything back to like this neutral zone where then I can go back in. So honestly, like throughout the whole drawing process, what you're really doing is this like song and dance of like push and pull, of like going back and forth, of lightening, darkening until you feel yourself, the form kind of starting to take shape, if that makes sense. And as I'm doing this, I'm squinting my eyes at my reference because it helps me visualize the dark and light points. And what the dark and light points are doing are they're helping me visualize form. That's what I'm doing. I'm building his form out. Now I'm switching to a 3B pencil just because I feel like it'll help me get some of the darker points a little easier, but I'm still going very light-handed with it because I don't want to over darken the drawing either. See how this eraser kind of gives like such a nice texture to it? It almost looks like fur, so I really enjoy using this to draw with. The reason I marked that is because that's where I see his hair coming in. So I'm actually going to darken this and then I'll bring in that eraser again to get that fur texture. And what you can even do if you don't have this guy, you can take your gummy eraser and just roll it like into like a point type of thing. Hold on, will it focus? Yeah. So like that, and just go. You know, it will take longer, but you'll be able to achieve a similar effect. And at this point, I'm going back and forth with the pencil hardness. It's just like I honestly am holding the other one in my hand. So it's like the back and forth, back and forth. A lot of drawing is going back and forth. That's kind of the beauty of it. It's not getting frustrated. It's just, you know, I know it's not sculpting, but in a way you are sculpting with your pencil. You're building this 3D form, so it takes time to really bring it out and have it come out, you know. As you see, it's starting to kind of take shape as a bear. What I'm doing here is I see this like darker portion, which is a shadow, and I'm just penciling that in. So I'm going back and forth within just hatching the shadows and then adding the texture of the fur, you know. It's like I'm constantly going back and forth between texture and value and shadows, excuse me. And every time I'm doing this, I'm also just, like I said before, you're trying to keep the direction, because that's actually going to dictate the form in the long run. Like, you might not visually see it in the moment, but it will dictate the form in the final drawing. Another thing, if you're having like a lot of trouble visualizing value in the colored image, you can also make the image black and white, because it'll help you see what tones you need to add and where. It'll help you see the shadows. Here I'm just going in and adding fur texture with the eraser. Like, it's slowly gonna kind of start to form. beginners, I'm just erasing the extra pencil marks that I feel are dirtying up the page. Overall, from here on out, I'm mostly going back and forth, like I was saying before, and fixing up the drawing to get it to the point where I feel like it's finished. So what does that entail? That means that I'm darkening things that need to be darkened, I'm lightening up things that need to be made lighter, and I'm also making more texture lines, as well as with my eraser I'm adding the texture of the fur back in. And I left this long clip in just so that you guys can see what I'm doing, because I know, especially if you're a beginner, it helps to watch someone physically do it, because that's almost better than someone just explaining it to you verbally, like when you can watch someone do it. So that's why I left it. I did speed it up a little bit, just, so it wouldn't be as boring to watch. But if you guys have any questions on any of the process, feel free to comment them below and I'll get to them, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. I really hope this video was able to help someone draw their very own bear and it came out really cute, or even learn how to draw from a reference image. Like I said, anything that we used in today's tutorial can be applied to any reference image or even from life. So if you enjoyed today's video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.